You know what's really nice? When you watch a movie, you have a good time, and then that's it. It's over. You move on with your life, you go do something else. What if instead of doing that, you opened up the Letterboxd app, you read a bunch of stupid reviews, and you spend 15 minutes deciding whether or not the movie is actually a 4-star or a 4.5 star. Then you go on YouTube, you watch 3 different video essays, you spend 2 hours listening to some posh British dude tell you that the movie actually sucks. So then you go through the comments section and you see a bunch of people arguing about the movie, so you decide to throw in your 2 cents. Now all of a sudden you got some dude with Cheeto-stained fingers and a fedora telling you that you're an idiot because you just disagreed with them about the movie. So then you go on Twitter and now you find out apparently the director tweeted something controversial 4 years ago. So now you got some college freshman telling you that you're a bad person because you gave royalty money to a problematic artist. Did doing all that extra stuff enhance your experience with the movie? Did it make you more informed? Or did it kind of mess with your mind a little bit and taint your memories with the movie? And you would have probably been better off if you just watched the movie and didn't go on the internet after. I love movies, dude. They're so fun to watch. They're so entertaining. But you know what kind of sucks? The way that online movie fans always seem to try to suck all the joy out of the movie watching experience. It seems like there's a lot of people who treat movie watching like it's a competition. If you haven't seen enough movies, well, then you don't know what you're talking about. Your opinion is irrelevant. You're just an idiot. Get out of here. But then if you've seen too many movies, well, then you're just a loser. You need to go outside and touch grass. Is there some golden sweet spot in the middle that I don't know about? And then sometimes you can't even express your own opinion about a movie without someone jumping down your throat and getting mad at you just because you have a different taste in movies than they do. I don't know why some people have this ego about the movies they watch and they get super tribalistic about their favorite movies. What's the deal with that? And there always seems to be these new controversies popping up. For example, if an actor or director says something mildly controversial in an interview, all of a sudden it's like this huge outrage and people are all talking about it. But then if you just logged off the internet and just didn't pay attention to this stuff, you would have no clue about any of this and you would just carry on enjoying the movies you like, whatever music you like. You wouldn't be paying attention to, oh, well, the singer of Radiohead said something 4 months ago on Twitter and I didn't like that. I don't listen to Radiohead anymore. Yeah, if you would have just logged off, you would still be happy. You'd be listening to Radiohead right now. And that's the thing, all of this online movie fan behavior, you'll very rarely ever meet people in real life who act like this. I mean, yeah, maybe once in a while. Like one time I was at a party and some dude straight up called me an idiot to my face because I said I didn't like Tarkovsky's Stalker. But like, yeah, most of the time you're never gonna run into people like that. It's only on the internet. And I'm not saying you shouldn't participate in the whole online movie fan world because there are a lot of benefits to it. But sometimes I wonder if participating in this whole online movie world actually enhances the experience of watching movies. Because I remember when I was a kid, I never really participated in all this online movie stuff. I would pretty much just watch the movie and be like, yeah, dude, that was awesome. And then I would just move on. And I'm pretty sure I enjoyed movies just as much back then as I do now. And don't get me wrong, I've definitely gotten a lot of great movie recommendations out of it, probably expanded my knowledge on movies quite a bit. But does it actually make watching movies more fun? I love video essays about movies. I love movie reviews. I love all that stuff. It's really enjoyable listening to someone who truly loves movies just talk about the thing that they're interested in. You can get a lot of great insights from them. It's really nice to hear a different perspective. And most of all, it's just entertaining. I think that's the main value of it. It's just another form of entertainment in its own right. And I really enjoy it. And I would say most of the movie related content on YouTube, it's good stuff. But there is a significant percentage of it that is just depressing. Gladiator 2 turned its back on masculinity. New trailer reaction. Disney fumbles with Snow White again. Snow White is a historic flop, and that's a good thing. Snow White is a crime against cinema.
It's no longer 1937. She's not going to be safe with the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
And I think it's fine to criticize these movies. I'm not trying to defend Snow White. I haven't even seen it. I truly have zero interest in that movie, but I'm just using that as an example because I remember there was this huge outrage over the Snow White movie. I just feel like a lot of that outrage was totally performative and super disingenuous. And yeah, I'm sure a lot of people reviewing the movie were just giving an honest criticism of the movie. When they say they thought the movie sucked, they're just giving a valid take on it. I'm just talking about all of the outrage over this movie. You're telling me that there's these legions of 40-year-old men who are like, they care that much about Snow White? I'm sorry, dude. I just don't buy it. There's no way you actually care that much about Snow White. It's just this performative outrage because, yeah, that's what the algorithm likes. If you post something really negative and provocative or controversial or something like that, it gets clicks. So there's all this performative outrage that's just trying to appease to the algorithm. And okay, yeah, maybe the movie actually does suck. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I have no opinion on it. But I feel like there has to be a lot of people who are just hopping on a hate bandwagon in a case like that. It's like, how many people in the comment section have actually even seen Snow White and they're just hating on it because they watched a bunch of YouTube videos talking about how terrible it is and how it's this outrageous, horrible movie that just destroying cinema, destroying a classic. Like, let's be honest, unless you're like 10 years old, do you really care that much about Snow White? And don't get me wrong, I understand the frustration people have with all these live action remakes and the general state of blockbusters in Hollywood movie, how there's so many remakes and just reusing the same IPs. I understand that. There is definitely a lack of originality when it comes to a lot of these big blockbuster movies, but I'm specifically talking about the performative outrage and people just dogpiling on these movies, even though you really probably don't care about it. At least most of the people talking about it probably do not care, and it's just kind of disingenuous and annoying. And then there's stuff like CinemaSins, which if you don't know what that is, it's basically just nitpicking for the sake of nitpicking. Do you really need to know everything wrong with Finding Nemo? Is it really that interesting of film criticism to point out that this cartoon has an inaccurate depiction of clownfish larvae? And yes, to be fair, I know CinemaSins claims that it's satire and entertainment. Okay, I get that. But at the same time, I feel like that sort of nitpicky style where you just nitpick every little detail of a movie, but you don't look at the bigger picture. I see that all over online movie discourse, whether it's YouTube videos or people just typing comments about movies. At a certain point, does it stop becoming satire and it's just unironically being extremely cynical just for the sake of it? And then you run into another issue with YouTube movie content. I guess this kind of applies to film criticism in general. The problem is that you have people who are watching these movies out of a sense of obligation rather than them actually wanting to watch the movie. Most people will only watch a movie if they're genuinely interested in that movie, and they'll watch it whenever they feel like watching it. I feel like that's the mindset that you're kind of supposed to have when you walk into a movie theater, that you actually want to be there rather than you're obligated to watch this movie. And you just have to wonder how that impacts someone's experience of watching the movie. If they're only watching it because they know they're going to just make a video about it or whatever, yeah, they're probably not going to enjoy it as much as someone who just genuinely was excited about this movie. That's one of the main reasons why I don't really do movie reviews on my channel. Most of the new movies that come out, I'm just not really that interested to go see it. And even the ones that I am, I don't necessarily want to watch it on opening night just so I can get a video out while the movie's still trending. No, I just want to watch it when I feel like watching it. And I guess this is a problem with film criticism in general. And I don't have an issue with film criticism at all. I think film critics are essential to the movie industry, but I'm just saying you do kind of have to take it with a bit of a grain of salt. Oh yeah, and also, why are there so many movie reviews on YouTube that are longer than the movie that they're reviewing? Like, why do you need to make a movie review that is longer than a Lord of the Rings movie? And to be fair, some of those super long reviews are really great. They go super in depth, they're super informative, but I'm just saying, for a lot of these videos, if you're gonna make a movie review that is longer than the actual movie, you better have some good stuff, dude. If you're just gonna go through every single scene and nitpick every little detail and basically just summarize the plot, I don't think you need to make a 4-hour review to do that. Looking at the bigger picture of YouTube movie content, like I was saying, most of it is entertaining, good stuff, but I'm just looking at all this negative stuff, the overly cynical stuff, the disingenuous dogpiling. I wonder what effect that actually has on the movie industry. I don't know if you can really measure that, but if you just look at sort of the declining attendance of movie theaters, people being more reluctant to go to theaters, I understand there's a lot of factors behind that, but I know social media definitely has to be a big one. And a lot of the content specifically about movies on social media, it's so negative and so cynical. I just feel like it probably does have some detrimental impact on the movie watching experience for a lot of people. Letterboxd. If you don't know what that is, it's basically the new and improved version of IMDb. If you don't know what IMDb is, it's a website where you can go and rate pretty much every movie that exists. So the catchphrase of Letterboxd is social film discovery, and I think the film discovery part of that is absolutely amazing. Letterboxd is such a great website to go to find movies to watch. There are so many movies I probably never would have heard of if it wasn't for Letterboxd, so I love it for that. But when it comes to the social aspect of the social film discovery, that's that's where I think it starts to run into a little bit of issues. So first of all, the whole concept of rating movies on a number scale, it's a little bit arbitrary. I don't have a problem with it. If you look at my channel, I've done all of these different tier list videos. That's kind of similar. It's not like I have a problem with rating movies on a number scale. My only issue with it though is once you start trying to get super granular about rating a movie on like some arbitrary scale, like is this a 3.5 or a 3.75, I think it starts to become a little bit of a distraction and it doesn't actually enhance the movie watching experience, at least for me. I'm sure most of you don't have this problem and I'm jealous of you, but I used to rate movies all the time. On my old Letterboxd profile, rate every movie I watched, and I would run into this problem where I would be watching a movie and in the middle of the movie, I would sometimes just think, oh, is this a 3.5 or a 4? Or is it a 4.5? Oh, I didn't like that scene, so I got to drop it. You know what I'm saying? I feel like once you care too much about rating movies, it starts to just become a distraction and it kind of defeats the purpose of it in the first place. Sometimes the best experience of watching a movie is when you don't really think about what score you're going to give the movie out of 10. You're not thinking about how am I going to review this movie? No, you just watch the movie and experience it and enjoy it. And again, I'm not saying I have a problem with people rating movies. I do it all the time. I'm just saying you got to be a little bit careful about it, because if you get super into Letterboxd or IMDb or sites like this, I see a lot of people, they get super into it. And then I feel like at that point, it starts becoming watching movies just so you can log it on Letterboxd and thinking about what you're going to rate it instead of just experiencing the movie, you know? And then there's the other thing about Letterboxd that a lot of people really don't like, which is if you go to the popular reviews under pretty much any movie, you're going to realize very quickly that a lot of these reviews are pretty stupid. Camera work more unstable than my future. Somebody do a welfare check on Paddington Bear. This happened to my buddy Eric. 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 And I don't really have any problem with these types of reviews. I mean, yeah, they're kind of dumb and it's super annoying when they just keep on repeating the ones like, yeah, this happened to my buddy Eric. Like, okay, we get it. But yeah, whatever. Occasionally they can be kind of funny. A lot of times it's not really funny, but you know, you tried. It's fine. You're having fun. But the only real issue I have with this is I just have to wonder how many people are watching a movie, and then while they're watching the movie, they're just spending the whole time thinking about what funny one-liner, what zinger are they going to put on their Letterboxd review. I'm not saying all of these Letterboxd users do it, but I'm sure there are some of these people who go to a theater, the entire movie, they're just thinking about, okay, what am I going to rate it? And then what is my one-liner going to be? And then as soon as the movie's over, they have to like type their one-liner review as early as possible, because the earlier you get, the more likely you are to have the most popular review. And I don't know, I just feel like that's probably not an ideal way of watching a movie. You can do what you want. If that's what you like to do, go for it. But I'm just saying, like, I feel like most filmmakers are not making their movies with the intention of having people think of zingers while they're watching the movie. No, they want you to be immersed into the movie. That's why they made the movie. But honestly, I can't even really complain about Letterboxd reviews, because if you go look at the user reviews on IMDb or Metacritic, they start getting super unhinged. 1 out of 10, people are weak-minded for liking this movie. 0, trash. This is woke garbage. The plot is not good. The characters are not good. The visuals are not good. Woke, woke, woke. Marvel wants a woke movie with unlikable people like Brie Larson. That's just a little taste of what some of the user reviews are like on these websites. That is a whole rabbit hole you can go down. And yes, I know that these sorts of unhinged reviews are in the minority. Most of them are not really like that, but there's enough of these unhinged reviews where it creates a bunch of noise pollution. And again, this just comes back down to, is there really a net benefit to being an online movie fan rather than just watching the movie and not paying attention to any of this stuff? Because even if most of it is chill, there is enough noise pollution there to kind of start to ruin the experience a little bit. And then you run into another issue with these websites like Letterboxd and IMDb, which is herd mentality. And I think this is especially a problem on Letterboxd, because the way that Letterboxd works is that if you look at the top reviews on pretty much any movie, it's all pretty much made by like the same 15 to 20 people. And I have nothing against those people. It's not their fault, but it's just the fact that Letterboxd doesn't really have any algorithm or way of sorting reviews. So whoever is like the most popular user user on the website, they're just going to be the top review for every movie. And yeah, I'm sure most people who go on Letterboxd are not just going to like the same stuff that the power users are liking, but I feel like there has to be some subconscious effect. If you were constantly seeing movies where all the top reviews are having a certain score, the movie has an overall average score, you're seeing all these other users who have like the same top 4, I feel like that does have some subconscious effect on whether you think a movie is good or not, even if you don't think it does. I like to think that I form my own opinions on movies, but if I'm being realistic, I feel like I definitely probably am influenced to some degree by the general reception that movies are getting on these websites. And I think you can definitely notice this when so many people kind of have the same general list of favorite movies, usually stuff on like the IMDb top 250 or the Letterboxd top 250. And yeah, those are genuinely great movies. That's how they got onto those lists. But at the same time, if you just ask a random person like that you know in real life who doesn't go on any of these websites, they don't even know what Letterboxd is, people who don't watch movie related content on YouTube, just ask them like their favorite movie. I feel like you get way more interesting and random answers from people like that than you do from the types of people who are super into like Letterboxd and movie YouTube and stuff like that. And I'm not saying I'm any different, dude. I have a super basic taste in movies. I was just wondering though, if I had never gone on Letterboxd, if I had never gone on IMDb, never watched any movie content on YouTube, I wonder what my favorite movie would be. It'd probably be a lot different than what it currently is. And it's hard to say how much of this is a result of herd mentality, or if it's just that these movies are just genuinely that good and people who watch a lot of movies all kind of come to the similar conclusions. I don't really know for sure. And I definitely do think there are a lot of people, even within Letterboxd and all that, who have vastly different opinions. So I'm not saying everyone just has the exact same taste. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, generally speaking, though, there are kind of trends where people start to gravitate to very similar movies. So what even is the point of watching movies? Well, ultimately, I think it's very simple. It's just they're fun to watch, they're entertaining, and it's nice to appreciate the art. It's that simple. I know that's super obvious, but when you factor in all of the online movie discussion, how much is that really contributing to the ultimate point of watching movies, which is just to have fun? And I'm not saying, oh, well, just turn your brain off and enjoy the movie. No, like definitely having discussions about movies and analyzing them, that is a big part of it. And the online movie world is great for that. It enhances the experience in that way, in that it gives you a place to discuss movies where you don't have to annoy people in real life who aren't as nerdy as you. But I don't know. I just see so much of this content revolving around movies. I'm just wondering, do you even like movies? So much of it is so negative, so cynical, always being outraged, always dogpiling on this. It seems like if you're not enjoying movies and you just like to bash movies or be super cynical, like, at what point should you just log off and maybe go find another hobby? And please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you shouldn't criticize movies, because if you don't like a movie or you think that movie sucks, then yeah, you should absolutely voice your opinion on that. I'm just talking about where it gets to the point where it's so cynical and so negative all the time. Like, at that point, what do you really even get out of it? And I do think that criticizing movies is fun in its own right. It even can be fun to bash a bad movie. That's fun. But like at a certain point, if you just go so overboard with it, that it's just exhausting. So does social media ruin movies? I gotta say it kind of does a little bit, but it also does make it better in a lot of ways. It's kind of a mix of both. And look, I'm not gonna stop watching movie reviews. I'm not gonna stop using Letterboxd. Okay, I'm in too deep at this point, but I'm just saying you should at least take it with a grain of salt. Don't let social media and the whole movie discourse affect your enjoyment of the movies too much. You might think like, oh yeah, I don't let it affect me already, but like you might not even notice it. I feel like some of it is kind of subconscious, and you have to be a little wary of it.